first down. They hand off to Marlon Mack. Huge hole, 50-yard line. He's at the 40, still going near sideline. He's at the 10. He's at the 5, and he will score. Touchdown, Marlon Mack. Touchdown, INDY. And again, it's picked up. It's Darius Leonard. Leonard with his second INT, and he's streaking down the near sideline. He's at the 40. He's at the 30. He's at the 20. He's going to go. A pick six for the Maniac.
Horseshoe is back, baby. The horseshoe is back.
What's going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to the Bringing the Juice podcast. Some interesting and potentially good news for the Indianapolis Colts. They announced that safety Julian Blackmon, third-round pick this year out of Utah, they're looking to potentially activate him in a couple weeks. Now, originally, when the Colts drafted Blackmon, it was thought that he was probably going to miss at least half the season. It was thought that he was probably going to be activated, late October, maybe early November. But this is obviously great news for the Colts in their safety room. And we thought, Blackmon's going to miss some time. That's why the Colts, signed Tavon Wilson. But obviously now the Colts are looking to have all these safeties brought in. What are your thoughts, Derek, of Julian Blackmon now potentially maybe being ready for week 1, week 2?
Yeah, so I remember, if anyone remembered the interview that I got to do with Frank Reich, I asked him, how about Julian Blackmon's health? How close is he to 100%? And that was 2 weeks ago, and he was telling us now that he's almost back. I mean, his rehab has been doing really well, and that they anticipate him to be ahead of schedule. And so far, from what it sounds like, it sounds as if that's still remaining true, that his rehab's still going really well, and that in 2 to 3 weeks, he could potentially be active. Now, I think we need to start pumping the brakes a little bit here, Cody. And I think this is where sometimes the active part sometimes gets people, right? Because the active part does not mean, oh, he's ready to go right now. No, that's not what that means. Active just means that if he absolutely needed to be out there, he could. But the issue is, he's still not been able to participate in all the activities that they've been doing. He's been doing his rehab. He's been working out. I get it. But he's not really been able to get one-on-one reps with anyone. So do you think, Cody, I know that they said 2 to 3 weeks, so he'll be ready for the season, but odds are, does he actually get any play time come the first couple weeks of the season, or is he just going to be a practice body that for maybe the first 2-3 weeks of the season, he's just getting reps?
Yeah, I see no reason to rush him into this. No reason. I mean, he's not going to start even if, he is healthy fully in week 1. Malik Hooker and Khari Willis are your starters. I mean, he's just going to help out on special teams and also do some spot duty if he does play. So right now, I'm totally good if the Colts kind of, maybe he's an active scratch for the first couple weeks because he's getting more acclimated back to game speed. I'm totally okay with that, honestly. Whatever the Colts need to do for Julian Blackmon to be 100% healthy, because odds are Malik Hooker will miss a game or two. I mean, it's happened. So you need a guy like Blackmon. And you also got George Odom, who I think is a very good backup option. So it's not like even if one of your safeties was to go down, right, it's not like, oh, my goodness, we have to have Julian Blackmon play now. No, you got some depth in that safety position. You got, obviously, him now, and then you got Tavon Wilson, who I mentioned earlier that you signed. So you have 2 good backup safeties that can help out. So for me, I'm kind of at that point, Derek, where I'm like, you know what? However long it needs for Julian Blackmon to be healthy, let's not rush him back and maybe have him injured even worse. Let's just let him go at his own speed. If he feels like he's 100% week 1, let him be out there. But that's just kind of my thoughts. Just ease him into it until he's fully confident in himself and his return and rehab from this injury.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. There's no need to rush him. Like you said, you had George Odom and Tavon Wilson, 2 experienced guys, know what they're doing. So if Malik Hooker or Khari Willis happen to fall to an injury, which is likely, or, it's a possibility for rather sake there, but that's okay, because then we don't have to rush Blackmon out there right away. Like you said, it's it's easy to say he's active, time to throw him out there with the big boys. That's not what we want him to do right away. And then have him go out there and then he just looks like crap, right? I mean, he may physically be there, but mentally he's not there yet. So I truly believe that this is okay, because this means that for the first month of the season, we're going to see very little of Julian Blackmon. I think for the first month, that's what this means. But at least the good thing is this would still have happened even if he was later in the season. So let's say that people said, oh, that late October time frame, which they were saying that, was at first when they drafted him, then he may not have been playing until late November. The season's almost over at that point. So, I mean, at least the good news is for the first month, you probably won't see much of him, which is fine. He gets acclimated, gets a little bit of game time. But then as the season goes along, if you have injuries or if you think he's progressing really well, then you could start seeing him taking some snaps away from a guy, maybe from Kahari Willis or Malik Hooker, just depending on what packages they're running. But either way, however much time he gets, it's really good to see that Julian Blackmon is still ahead of schedule, still doing near 100%. It's really nice to hear that news.
Yeah, and we've said, Derek, obviously you don't want an injury for any of your players, but if you do have a significant injury like this, it's better to have it when you're, coming into the league as opposed to, being late 20s, early 30s, because you can bounce back ahead of schedule. Like we saw Malik Hooker do that too. And that's a reason why, I'm kind of hesitant to have him out there, because you saw Hooker the first month and a half, 2 months, when he came back from that ACL injury that he sustained his rookie year, he wasn't the same player. I mean, and Hooker admitted it. He said, physically, I may have been there, but mentally I wasn't there. I needed to make sure I could trust my body. So when I go to plant to make a tackle or whatever, I can feel like I'm fully confident that won't happen again. And that's kind of where I'm at with Blackmon. Let him be fully confident to where he needs.
I'll throw in a basketball reference here for you real quick. And I know it's unrelated, but so I saw this on Twitter. I don't know who it was that mentioned this, but somebody was talking about when Victor Oladipo got his injury. It was a few years ago when the Pacers took the Cavaliers to, 5 games in that series, and Vic was not afraid to jump and, dunk the ball. It's the thing. And now in the bubble, he was shown having the same exact play in the same exact spot, but instead goes for a layup. See, you're physically there, but when your mental capacity is telling you, we need to watch out for this, it changes you completely. It changes how you play the game. You might still be able to possibly do it, but you have to change the way you do it. And that's what can possibly hurt you, because in the NFL, you can't change how you play the game. You have to play it the way that the game is designed. And if it's not, you're going to miss the tackle. You're going to miss the read. You're going to do all this. So like you said, physically he could be there. Mentally, he just may not be there at the moment. He needs a little time, get out there with the guys, run around, get used to this defensive scheme. And then when that happens, then we'll be ready to go.
Yeah. And for how physical of a player Blackmon is, it is critical that he is fully 100%, because we know you've compared him before, Derek, to Bob Sanders, one of the most physical players in NFL history.
Yep.
And if you're not 100%, you're not going to go out there and make that big hit, because you're like, I don't trust my body that it'll fully be healed. So definitely agree with you there, Derek. But certainly great news from the Colts standpoint, especially the projections when he was drafted to now. Seems like he's majorly ahead of schedule.
Yep.
That'll be great for safety depth. I mean, you think about it, if Blackmon's healthy, but he's not playing, you have 5 safeties you can rely on that you feel like we have tremendous depth at the safety position.
Yep.
That was one I know I was kind of like, well, what do you think about, obviously I felt like he had 3, but, Hooker has been injured, but now you have so much safety help. This can free you up to do so many things. And I know Tavon Wilson has played some linebacker too, so maybe in certain situations he plays some linebacker. I mean, there's so many possibilities that you can do with this defense. This Blackmon news is just more good news on the injury front for the Colts. Mm-hmm. They have had no significant injuries up to this point. Let's pray, knock on wood, that happens throughout the season. But right now, certainly good news, certainly trending up for the Colts, especially in their safety room. All righty. Well, thanks, guys, so much. For Derek and myself, go Colts.